Welcome back to the Hit in the Turnbuckle podcast. This is the Smackdown review show, a Smackdown on Saturday mornings over here in the UK, Friday nights over in the States. We know. Lots of stuff went on. But prior to Smackdown, there has been another coal of releases in the WWE. We're going to talk a bit more about these tomorrow on Raw with Andy. I'm just gonna give you the names, and then say tomorrow when we record with Andy about Raw, we'll go into it in a bit more detail. But the names, some of them quite surprising. Braun Strowman, Shayla Baszler, Dakota Kai, Kaden Carter, Katanya Chance, Cora Jade, Gigi Dolan, Eddie Thorpe, Riley Osborne, Jakara Jackson, Wolfgang, Joe Coffey, and Mark Coffey, Gallus, basically, Orion Mensa, Javier Bernal. Also, Shotzi Blackheart or Shotzi has also been released from their contracts. I said we'll get into that in a bit more details tomorrow with Andy because it gives us a bit more to and fro what we can talk about and whatnot, and it will just give a different perspective of it. Perhaps we can look at potential locations about where they could end up next. What I would say is the beauty of having lots of promotions available now is that there is choice. For these athletes to go to. I'm sure some of them will be picked up. Some of them may go back onto the Indies. I think Cardona's tweet about it was basically spot on. You could either live off your WWE name, you can either do something else, or you can work your ass off in the Indies, or do so many other things, and maybe work your way back to the WWE. Who knows? But look, we'll get into that in a bit more detail tomorrow with Andy. But SmackDown was this Friday or Saturday in the UK, and it started with Damian Priest. Now, interesting about this is he wanted Jacob Fatu's championship. There was actually him and Jacob Fatu got into a shoving battle backstage. But LA Knight wants to come in and he wants a shot at the title, and you kind of know where this is going. And LA Knight was actually blaming Damian Priest for not getting a rematch, and it was just quite interesting how they were blaming each other. And then Solo Sikoa, Jacob Fatu are there as well. It is interesting, but it is where it's going is even better. So after all of that, anyway. It ends up with Damian Priest and LA Knight having a match to start SmackDown this week, which isn't a bad thing at all. But the reason why this match didn't end, it ended in a DQ victory, was that Solo Sikoa attacked Damian Priest at ringside, leading to the disqualification. After the end of that, Solo attacked LA Knight. But this time, Knight and Priest gang up on Solo Sikoa. And Priest was about to put Sikoa through the commentary table with a South of Heaven joke slam, but Fatu evens up the odds and ended up sort of standing tall to end the brawl, so to speak. And it was it was actually the match itself was going in a good direction. I feel as if it could have been better if we had an actual finish rather than a DQ. But it's not the end of the world because look, it's difficult, especially because what I'm about to say afterwards happened, and then you kind of understand it a bit more. So for me, this match I thought was great. I thought the finish was fine. I'm not a big fan of constant DQs and constant interference, but I will say this: we're going to get to it now. Is where it's going. So a bit later on SmackDown, there was Nick Aldis was backstage with Solo and Jacob, and basically they initially made a triple threat match, did Nick Aldis, between Jacob Fatu, LA Knight, and Damian Priest for the United States Championship at Backlash next weekend. And they was all fine with that. But Solo was like, it should be one on one with Damian Priest. It should be one on one with Drew McIntyre. McIntyre's got a shot, blah blah. So Nick Aldis went, okay, I agree with that. You're right. Jacob, at Backlash, you're going to defend the United States title against Drew McIntyre, LA Knight, and Damian Priest in a fatal four-way match. And to be honest with Jacob, he was just like, line them up and I'll knock them down. I love that. Jacob is brilliant. Him and Solo will eventually split up, whether that's something going into SummerSlam Maybe they're waiting for Tamatonga and Tonga Loa to come back. I don't know. But that will be a match that will grace our cards very, very soon. Jacob's going to go his own way eventually. There's no doubt about that at all. And I do think Jacob's a star. I think the thing I would say, Solo Sikoa was like, when he was in the bloodline with Roman and the Usos, you always looked and said, eventually it's going to be Roman and Solo. That's where they were going. That was the plan. You kind of sensed it. Eventually Solo would turn and that would be it. It never happened. And you wonder maybe why it didn't happen. Well, simple is perhaps they knew about Jacob Fatu anyway. Or Jacob Fatu come into the WWE and change the whole plans of what happened. Could that be the case? And whatever happens is Solo Sikoa is not anywhere, I won't say anywhere near, but whatever plans they had for him, I think have been scrapped. And now he's actually below Jacob Fatu, really, in the pecking order, shall we say. Um, Interesting times there, but you can tell straight away Jacob Fatu is the one getting all the reactions. He's the one with the momentum behind him. The fans actually love him, to be fair. I'm not sure I'm ready for a face Jacob Fatu because I don't want to see him take a brunt of punishment. I don't think that's needed. But I am looking forward to seeing where they go with Jacob Fatu because he is someone that really, you're talking WrestleMania main eventers. I think Jacob is definitely one of those. Fraxiom against Pretty Deadly was on SmackDown, Raw's tomorrow, everybody. Was on SmackDown this week. I want to say, I'm pretty certain with this. This match was actually really, really good. I enjoyed it. I always actually enjoyed anything with Fraxiom. They're a very exciting team. And Pretty Deadly are just there, right? They're still very, very good. Uh, and I really enjoyed it, but there was a lot of issues in this match with, I mean, Elton Prince was getting injured during this match as well, and there was a lot of issues with the referee's count, and yeah, that kind of just took the what's the word? Took the momentum away from the two teams on this. I felt like it was getting so good and and then it just dropped because yeah, just because of the way that these I mean end up with a moonsault Elton Prince, I mean took it to the face. And then it kind of stopped didn't quite get the count. It looked like he got the free, but he didn't. And it was literally because he come down right on his face and there was definitely something not quite right. You could tell he was dazed. He was bleeding from the mouth. He seemed disorientated a little bit. And then later on in the match, Fraser went for a pinfall and Prince fouled to kick out, though the referee did stop the count. And eventually he did make the tag to Kit Wilson. But then later in the match, Wilson hit a powerbomb and Fraser went for the pin. The ref counted to three, but Fraser kicked out at the same time and the ref waved off the finish of it. And like it was fine until then. And I think there's sort of sequences of events like that that really let it down in the match. I think could they have stopped the match? Could they have maybe if Elton could have communicated that something was wrong, maybe they could have just threw him to the outside, let him get his bearings back, let him see what was going on, because sometimes with these ones, they're stingers. Listen, I'm not a wrestler, but I know you get a stinger where it's one of those ones where, boom, it hurt, you get injured and then you're fine. And you're getting a moonsault to the face is not, I can imagine, is not very nice whatsoever. So if he's bleeding and that, maybe just rolled him out to the outside or, yeah, slide him through the ring and, play up to the crowd a little bit, give him chance to, get Kit Wilson out then and they can, assess the situation. Perhaps that may have been better than what they did because there were so many sequences of unfortunate events that happened after that. They really let the match down because the ref's like, you got to kick out. I'm coming down for the free. You're not kicking out. And then Fraxium had the same issue where they kicked out as the ref hit the free and it was like they had to wave it off. And you're like, you kind of like this match was so good, but yeah, because of those issues, it kind of was not as bad as it looked. But anyway, it is one of these things happen in wrestling. It's one of those things, and you know, it just happens. What can you say? What can you say to it? It happens, and at the end of the day, we hope that well, A, actually, we're hoping that Elton Prince is okay, and B, they'll have a bet. They could get a rematch this week on SmackDown, and it'll be far better than what they, than this one because they won't have the issues to it. But it was a great tag up until that point, anyway. But hopefully more of that though. More Fraxiom. They're very exciting. I'm really enjoying Fraxiom on WWE TV right now. They're exciting. They breathe a fresh bit of life into that tag division. And when you look at it, because I think the Street Profits they should turn heel at some point. I think when they do, they've got like a ready-made, exciting favorite tag team right there for the fans to get behind, and that is Fraxium. Speaking of champions or championships, someone that's not taking a loss very, very well. Last week, Chelsea Green surprisingly lost the Women's United States Championship to Selena Vega last week on SmackDown. It was a big surprise. I'm not saying that Selena didn't deserve it. I just thought it was too early in Chelsea's reign for her to lose the championship. But nevertheless, look, she wants a recount or a rematch, so to speak. And they said they can talk about it later, Nicole, is because Selena's got a match with Piper Niven tonight. So we're going to get to that in a bit. Who's going to get the next shot at Tiffany Stratton is the next question. Nia Jax comes out to ring. She come back last week. She attacked Tiffany Stratton, of course, last week. Naomi wants a match as well. So does Jade Cargill. So we're going down that kind of route. Nia Jax, Naomi, Jade Cargill. I think from what I saw last week from Jade, when Jade took on Tiffany last week, and I kind of agree with what Andy said. It's kind of put up or shut up time for Jade. She had this big company, this big entrance into the WWE. She's been pushed like a star, built like a star, and she is. But there's a time for delivery, or due to deliver on it. Last week with Tiffany, I don't think she did deliver on this. Putting her in the ring with Nia and Naomi well, they know with Naomi, they worked at WrestleMania. They've got that storyline going on, Nia Jax. Nia Jax gives Jade Cargill a chance to show her power, so that's great. But my fear with Jade is there was literally, even in AEW, she hit that brick wall and she never took herself to that next stage. I know she was TBS champion for a long time, but once she got to there, it kind of fluctuated up and down. Whereas in WWE, you kind of need to elevate your game, and I don't think she's done that thus far anyway. But there was a tag match later on, which sets up, which was Jade Cargill, Tiffany Stratton, Naomi, and Nia Jax was made for later on this evening, so that was good. But next we saw the return of Alister Black. And he took on The Miz. If you remember last week, Alister Black, they returned, to WWE, took out Miz with the Black Mass. And he did literally take out Miz with the Black Mass this time to pick up the victory. However, what I would say is he has a stare down with Carmelo Hayes at the end. Now, that's a match I can get behind because I think, WWE haven't really utilized Miz as a top contender for years. He's always that kind of. I can't remember who said it. Heard it recently when someone says, "Yeah, I'm like maybe Bailey. She's like a Miz. She's that one where she'll put the talent over. If you're going to enhance a talent, put him in the ring with Bailey." And I think WWE was like, well, we need to give Aleister Black a victory. Who's on SmackDown? Miz. That's how it looked. But what I would say with this match is I was expecting kind of a squash match, and it literally started straight away with Aleister Black nearly hitting Black Maz and Miz sort of, falling on the floor to get out of it. They made Aleister Black work really hard for it. But the issue with that is, and the problem I have with him working so hard to beat someone like The Miz who hasn't been a credible, look, you can reel off his CV. I mean, they used to do it all the time back just after the Attitude Era when you used to take on Val Venus on Sunday Night Heat. It was like, wow, he's a former Intercontinental Champion. A victory could propel him to propel Taka Michinoku to the Intercontinental Championship. You know what I mean? And it's kind of like that with The Miz. Like he's won it all. He has won it all in the WWE. So a victory over him should mean something. The fact that Alistair Black, though, had to work so hard for this victory, number one, makes it feel like he's not going to be, a big star in the WWE at all, really. It didn't convince me that we're going to be seeing Alistair Black challenge for championships. Alistair Black and Carmelo Hayes will be great. And I wouldn't have minded it if the match had started. The Miz was pandering, 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 gets hit with a black mass, he covers it. And then next week or in a couple of weeks' time, Alistair Black goes one-on-one with Carmelo Hayes in a competitive match. That would have worked out fine for me. The fact that he had to work, I think even sometimes overly hard to beat the Miz, did, doesn't bode well for me personally. That's just me. But we'll see what happens. But Alistair Black did indeed pick up the victory against the Miz. And again, Carmelo Hayes in the sights of Mr. Black going forward. Now, we could finally be getting a feud for Ray Fenix. There was backstage this week where Ray Fenix was confronted by Santos Escobar, who basically Escobar buried Ray Fenix for losing to El Grande Americano, aka Chad Gable, at WrestleMania, leading to Phoenix to challenge him to a match later on this evening. So perhaps we're getting, Santos Escobar, Ray Phoenix. There you go. That's fine. That's perfect. Complement each other well. They'll have great chemistry in the ring because they work very similar together. Santos, I think Santos is quite underutilized in the WWE. To be quite honest, I think he's far better than what you're seeing on the screen anyway. So to have him and Ray Phoenix together in the ring is fine by me. The next one was the Selena Vega Piper Niven match, which was made earlier, as you know, by Nicole Diss. I feel as if the theme of Selena Vega's title run will be the underdog fighting from within, which isn't a problem. It's not an issue at all. Um, Last week, it felt like her win was a fluke, and maybe that was positioned to be that way because it was a surprise to everybody. The match with Piper Niven, there was a bit of a miscommunication between Piper and Chelsea Green, which led to Selena Vega hitting it was a roll up on Piper for the win. But it felt more of a solid victory than last week. Yeah. Last week, as I said, felt like a fluke, whereas this week, yeah, she took advantage of a miscommunication, but it was a solid victory. And I feel as if she needed that because I feel as if like a lot of fluke victories over and over again, especially as your champion, needs to be, you kind of, it's a bit like having a champion that wins with so much interferences. There's that weakness. It's like, well, do you really need, they really need to keep interfering week after week after week? I would say that I don't think her rivalry of Chelsea Green is going to end anytime soon, either. If I'm honest, I think that's going to carry on for a bit. Um, I'm not quite sure who's going to beat Selena. I don't think it will be Chelsea Green. I just can't. I just feel as if that match was just the Chelsea Green title loss was just too early in the Chelsea Green reign. Is my belief. I should have gone on a bit longer. Nevertheless, I don't know if WWE would have appreciated Selena Vega dancing like Mercedes Moné or Sasha Banks during her entrance when she was in the ring this week. That may not have gone down too well. But Selena Vega picks up the victory, picks up the dub against Piper Niven. And that leads us up. They did announce the Fatal 4-Way, the US title match of Backlash. I've already mentioned that before. But now we hear from the Viper, Randy Orton, who's basically saying that Cena is an entitled brat who gets whatever he wants and calls him a shiny new toy that the ultimate puppet master loves playing with. He said Cena took advantage by the PG era by being a walking, talking cartoon character, while Randy Orton did everything he could do to be himself. Cena, I said all Cena cared about was his bottom line and his multicolored merchandise. I love that. I love that. And I did like the end of this promo when he said that actually what he did also Randy Orton also said it was you're the latest legend that I've got to put down, and he's looking forward to punting Cena's Lego shaped head at Backlash. I thought was hilarious. I love that line. What I did like also was R-Truth coming up to Randy Orton afterwards. He come off for a break. Randy's walking backstage. Out comes R-Truth and tells him there's no way he's beating his childhood hero. At Backlash, Orton was getting pissed at this point. Jimmy Uso shows up and calms things down, and Jimmy's telling R-Truth to stop playing around. And then Truth says Cena told him he's the last real world champion, and he wouldn't lie to him. Jesus. Crazy. Crazy times. Right. Santos and Ray Phoenix. This was the best thing on the show. It was a clean finish as well, which was nice. Ray Phoenix top rope Meteora for the victory. This was there, as I just said earlier, having these two together, complement of styles, great chemistry. They worked fantastically well together. This was probably, yeah, this was the best thing on SmackDown this week, to be quite honest with you. Loved it. Thought it was fantastic. Ray Phoenix is going to be. I'm looking forward to when the Lucha Brothers do eventually come together. I think that's going to be a while yet, but I'm really looking forward to that. Yeah, I just want it to happen now. I know it's different shows and whatnot. Penta's cast, Penta's doing very well on Raw, just like Ray, but they're going in the right direction with both of these. I wasn't quite sure because with WWE and Luchadors, unless you're Rey Mysterio, Dragon Lee just hasn't worked. They've not really, to be fair to Dragon Lee, it's not even been his fault. WWE just haven't really got behind him for whatever reason. Penta and Ray just have that different aura about them, Penta, I think Penta more so, if I'll be honest right now, Penta's just got a bit more of an aura about him at the minute that just, yeah, works and looks great. And I look forward to seeing Penta in action. I think on Raw this week, funnily enough, I think JD McDonough may be Penta's opponent this coming week on Raw, which should be good, or tonight, should we say, on Raw, which me and Andy will get into tomorrow. So yeah, looking forward to that. But Ray Phoenix, Santos Escobar. If you watch anything on SmackDown this week, there's your match right there. We actually got the women's main event in this week: Tiffany Stratton and Jade Cargill against Naomi and Nia Jax. It was decent. It was a decent match. Jay Cargill did hit the power bomb on Nia Jax. This is my point. No, Jay Cargill using the power boom to and again putting her in the ring with a Nia Jax gives someone to utilize that power for, make her look like the star. Which WWE are trying to make Jade Cargill look like the star. They really are. It's just for me not hitting, and I don't not quite sure why it's not hitting, but it's not hitting. And whether this again, we said it last week. I mean, Andy said it. It's put up or shut up time for Jade Cargill, and she's got to deliver. You can't. In AEW, she coasted along at this level, and it was fine because they built. That was what they were doing with her. They were happy with that. But WWE are not going to be happy with you coasting at a level. They need you to go higher and higher and push yourself and get higher. Yeah, you look at some of these releases, and if you believe what Dave Meltzer's contact, which that this has caused a lot of stuff. We'll get into this more tomorrow, Andy. But Dave Meltzer's contact in the WWE says some of these ones are getting for lack of effort and stuff like that, and it caused a bit of an issue with Gigi Dolan and Cora Jade, and they come out and said quite a couple of other things, body shaming and whatnot. But if that's the case, and it is about hard work and ethic, and Jade's here, she's got to, she has to, she has to. Anyway, there was a stare down at the end of SmackDown with Jade Cargill and Stratton. They were playing a bit of a tug of war with the belt, and then Naomi took them both down and stood tall with the women's championship as SmackDown goes off the air. Where's Charlotte Flair again, by the way? She taking another hiatus? Jesus wept. Look, all in all. That was SmackDown. And all in all, I felt the show lacked tonight. I really, not tonight, but I felt the show lacked this week. I did, because Backlash is literally this coming weekend, I felt as if it should have been a lot more than what we got. I expected a lot more. I thought WWE may have wanted to, because of the releases were going on at the time SmackDown was on, I kind of felt that WWE would want to put something on big to kind of take that away and make that less of a noise, but they didn't. And it just felt like the show was just kind of there. It was there because it's Friday at SmackDown. But yeah, I think with everything that was going on outside of the WWE at this point, it would have been better for them to have tried to limit the noise, so to speak. And SmackDown didn't deliver on that. So yeah, unfortunately, it wasn't great. There was a couple of great things, like I said, Ray Fenix and Santos Escobar was good, very, very good. The rest of it just felt pretty meh. But this coming week, SmackDown is the final SmackDown before we go to Backlash from St. Louis, Missouri. So we're expecting big things this week in the WWE with Raw tonight, SmackDown on Friday. Backlash on Saturday, and we've got a special guest on Sunday for the review of Backlash. Myself and Andy will be here with Johnny North from Wrestling Uncensored. He will join us for the Backlash review. Andy will be back tomorrow for the Raw review. I will be here tomorrow for the Raw review. And if you just keep it locked on our channel, at HTT Buckle on X, HTT Buckle on YouTube, Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast on all social media outlets. Got some interviews this week as well. The WWE former WWE diva Cherry, her interview will be dropping this coming Thursday. I look forward to that. Cherry was a absolute sweetheart as we talked women's wrestling, Deuce and Domino, and Natalia in particular. And there's so much more. It was great to speak to Cherry. So thanks to her and Podstars for making that interview happen. But until tomorrow, when we're back for Raw, everybody, this has been the Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast. Buckle down, stay safe, and goodbye.